You are listening to the Bright Life Podcast, all about ways to stay inspired, chase your dreams, and find more gratitude in the highs and lows of the journey. I'm your host, Jessica Johnson. I'm a business owner, a part-time digital nomad, a self-growth junkie, a believer in other big-hearted women, and am all about sharing tips, tricks, lessons learned, and encouragement so we can all live our biggest, brightest lives. You ready? Let's do this. Hi, welcome to today's episode. If you are listening to this, my book is out in the world. It's officially launch day, and I am so excited to be sharing it with you before everyone else wakes up and hears about it. So thank you so much for being here with me. And if you have been part of this journey, hearing about it, watching it, maybe seeing it on Instagram, thank you so much, because today is not really about me or my book. I feel like it's really about you equally, like who I was writing to this entire time and thinking of for the past year. So I'm so excited for you to finally get this book in your hands and to read it and to hear what you think and hear what resonates the most. I figured this episode we could talk a little bit about what the book is about, who it's for, and I'll even share a little excerpt from the introduction so you can know if it's right for you, if you want to get your hands on it. And if you know already, then go to Amazon, Your Bright Life, because there are some major giveaways this first week. You can find out more about that on my Instagram at Hi Jessica Johnson. It's available now on Amazon. You can listen to the Audible version. You can buy the paperback. You can get the Kindle if that's your thing. So how exciting, right? I'm so pumped that it's finally here. Now, when I was thinking of who this book was for and who I was writing to this whole time, I really imagined this woman who knew she was ready for some kind of next chapter in her life. You know, maybe she was feeling like I felt for a large period of my life, where she knew she was capable, but she just didn't know what her passion or purpose or ultimate calling was. I also thought of women who are maybe in work that's fine and on paper it looks good, but they're just looking for more. They feel like they're meant for more and they're ready to figure out what that is. Or maybe it's someone who is in transition and who just looking for a little bit of love and encouragement around their next chapter, maybe a little bit of clarity. So there's so many women that this can serve depending on where you're at in your own evolution. The back of the book says this: do you ever feel like you're meant for more, but aren't sure what your passion is or where to start with creating your dream life? In this book, learn how to design your brightest life, move through any fears and doubts holding you back, and bring your dreams to life. This is the process I've used to go from feeling unsure of my passion in a corporate career to starting my own businesses, launching the Bright Life podcast, living and working around the world, and writing for publications like HuffPost and Ad Age. The best part is your version of a bright life could look completely different than mine. Your bright life could be babies in your arms, animals on a farm, climbing the ladder at a Fortune 100 company, or escaping the 9-to-5 grind to see the world from a camper van. If you've ever been unsure what your dream life looks like, this book will help you get crystal clear on the biggest, brightest version for your life and how to make it a reality. Find a ton of permission around making a change, learn how to overcome fears and limiting self-talk, and feel inspired, encouraged, and re-energized to create a life you love. So you can find it today on Amazon, Your Bright Life. Get clear on what you want, overcome self-doubt, and bring your dreams to life by Jessica Johnson. All right, so now I want to share a little bit from the introduction, because I think this paints the picture for the journey we'll go on together and sets the stage for what the book is really about in a deeper way. It says this: it's not about life being bright and perfect all the time. It's not about manufacturing a false sense of well-being when you really need a good cry. It's not about putting on a smile when you're scared shitless, although this book will walk you through how to process those moments too. It's really about knowing how to get clear on what your biggest, brightest life looks like, whatever version you can feel so deeply that it brings you to tears just imagining it. And if you haven't felt that in a while or ever, it's about how to get to that place. It's about knowing how to go from dreaming to actually bringing your dreams into reality. How to move through all the fear, self-doubt, judgment, comparison, and limiting beliefs that come up along the way. How to become someone who can receive and hold her dream instead of self-sabotaging when it comes. And it's about how to start over again when a new vision emerges in your heart. It's about finding joy in the messiness, experimentation, and unknown of creation. It's knowing how to evolve at any time and how to give yourself permission to do so. It's about recognizing that fears are part of the process, but not a sign to stop or never begin. In this book, you'll learn how to design the most beautiful, highest vision for your life that you can imagine, how to actually start to see it come to life around you, and how to release anything holding you back. Chapter by chapter, you'll take one dream through the creation process until it manifests in your life. So that's a little part from the introduction. And when I was picturing this book, I imagined seeing each chapter as another part of the creation process. So you start out with dreaming, painting this picture of what your life would look like if it could look like anything, and reconnecting to what you really actually want and how to get to that place if you've never felt it. And then it moves on to deciding, chapter 2, where if you've ever felt like you have a hard time getting clarity when there's too many decisions or you can't hear what your heart really wants because your head is so loud and you have all these conflicting voices around you telling you what you should want, that chapter helps you get really, really clear on hearing what's right for you and what's right now versus something that you can go after again or revisit in the future. And then moves on to embodying, because for me, I think part of creation is, of course, action, of course, doing and hard work, but it's also becoming, it's also being able to hold all of the feelings that come with your dreams coming true so you don't burn it down and self-sabotage when it arrives. And because so much of who you become and what you think about every day influences the actions that you do take or how stuck you stay for how long. So chapter 3 really gets into embodying and becoming someone who can see and feel your dream taking shape all around you. It tells stories of how I've done that in my own life, all the way back to New York City when I was a young woman, and it really brings it to life in ways that I have brought in some of my biggest dreams over and over again. In chapter 4, it gets into doing because, like we mentioned, of course, there's hard work. Of course, there's practical action. But if you ever feel like you get overwhelmed or don't know where to begin or just keep hitting the same wall over and over again, the chapter shares my favorite ways for making action feel a lot lighter and for knowing where to actually begin when you have this mammoth dream ahead of you. How do you break it down? How do you make it simple? How do you use behavior and psychology to work with yourself versus feeling like you're always trying to drag yourself to what you want to be doing? Chapter 5 gets into believing, because as you start to take that action, you're going to get really clear on what beliefs are running the show and maybe have been for decades. Because the thing is, every single thought you think is powerful. It creates an emotion in your body, and that emotion dictates whether or not you're willing to take a certain action. That action leads to the results that you get or you don't, and that reinforces the whole cycle where you don't get a certain result, then you go back to the same thoughts over and over, same emotions, same actions. So it really breaks the pattern in chapter 5 and allows you to work with the root cause of why you're doing something or not doing something, which is your beliefs. Chapter 6, one of my favorites, goes into fear, because I think fear is something that's so misunderstood in our society. And I used to look at it as this thing to fear, right? Like this villain that I would dread coming on. But as I've gone on in my journey, I've started to look at it with a different lens and to see it as a guide and a teacher and even stepping stones pointing to ways that I can nurture myself and ways that I can take action and move forward through fear and despite fear. And so I talk a lot about that and how to just make yourself feel a lot more fearless and take action alongside it. The next chapter, chapter 7, is all about detaching, which is part of the creation process when you feel like you have been at your goal and nothing's happening and you're pissed off and you're wondering why you're even bothering, and then detaching comes in, and you have to really learn the art of surrender and allowing a little bit of magic in the timing of your journey. And so I love this chapter. It's been one of the biggest lessons of my life, my business, but it's detaching, and it's how do you detach? How do you let go? How do you loosen your grip? And all the goodness that comes from doing that. Chapter 8 is all about receiving. So everyone thinks that they will magically accept their dream when it arrives. I mean, who doesn't want the abs or the money or the love? But as you've probably seen in your own life in some ways, if you get something that you don't feel like you can truly hold and receive or feel worthy of, you do a lot of funky stuff to sabotage and to reject it or to level out another part of your life so that you feel some kind of strange sense of safety overall. So chapter 8 is all about receiving as part of the creation process. Chapter 9 is one of the last 2 chapters, and it's all about shining, because if you are going to go for that next level, if you're going to play a bigger game, if you're going to say what you really want and have some of those conversations and own this is actually who I am now, you're going to have to get a little bit comfortable shining and saying this is who I really am and what I really care about. And so chapter 9 shares a bit of my journey there. I mean, you all know if you listen to this that I've been open about where I get nervous sharing and shining. And so I share some of the lessons I've learned and ways to just boost your self-confidence and your self-love so you really can get out there and go for what you want. And then chapter 10, the last chapter, is all about pivoting. When it's time to dream a new dream. So as you bring a dream to life and you go through all of those phases that are involved, but you start to feel the bristles of change for the next thing. You start to feel like something's misaligned that once felt right. How do you give yourself permission to pivot? How do you allow yourself to change? How do you know when the time is right? And pivoting has been one of, I think, the biggest lessons and blessings I've received, just the peace I feel around pivoting when the time comes. And so I want to share that with you in this last chapter, where your life can contain as many dreams as you can fit into it, as many juicy chapters as it can possibly hold. And so this chapter will close with really allowing you to feel peace and almost some sacredness around when it's time to evolve or to grow or go on to that next season. So that is what I've written for you. It's called Your Bright Life. Again, it's get clear on what you want, overcome self-doubt, and bring your dreams to life. It's available on Amazon. And if you read it, I would so appreciate if you share it and tag me on Instagram or on Facebook so I can see and thank you. And I love if you would leave a review. It helps so much for first-time authors who don't have this big marketing engine or massive publisher behind them. If you can leave a review, that's like gold for a first-time publisher and first-time book. So I'm so grateful. Thank you for listening to this. Thank you for purchasing, sharing, reviewing. Your notes mean so much to me. You have no idea. This is such a project that's born directly from my heart and soul more than anything. So hearing your reactions to this book, the ones I've already heard of people finding something that resonates or something that shifts for them has meant so much to me. So thank you so much for being one of my very first supporters of this dream. And I cannot wait to hear more about yours and to cheer you on. We're all just going to light up this world together. So thanks for starting it with me, and can't wait to see you again next week. Thank you so much for listening in. If this episode resonated with you, I have something you are going to love. Check out brightlifepodcast.com, where you can download a free Bright Life Biz Starter Kit, full of the steps that helped me go from a 9-to-5 to starting a business, creating more freedom, and finding fulfillment as my own boss. I hope it supports and inspires you further. Thank you so much for being here, and I will chat with you again next week.